The smelly one.
You guys,
What
welcome this
is
meeting
it?
to order. Lights.
Tobacco, essential oil.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open Meetings Law, the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted on the bulletin board on the east wall, which is right behind me, and there's also one in the official meeting book. Roll call, 5.
Janet Mueller,
Present.
Sean Landis. Present. Tom Kelly.
Present.
Kyle Stevenson, present. Eric Turka.
Present.
Randy Busher.
Present.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 5A, approval of the regular meeting on 4/8/25, and the approval of the general fund bills of $488,281.23. At a first, do I have a second?
Second.
First and second, roll call.
Sean Landis.
Yes.
Tom Kelly.
Yes.
Kyle Stevenson, yes. Eric Turka.
Yes.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Janet Mueller.
Yes. Motion carried. Treasurer's report,
Receipts are currently at 71%, should be at 66.67. Expenditures are currently at 56, should be at 75.
Any other comments, Sean? Mr. Clausen, do you have any others? Okay, let's move on to item number 7, which is the recognition of visitors and public comment. If anyone would like to address the board, this is the appropriate time to do so, or if you rather comment on a specific agenda item, you may do so at this time. Please stand and state your name, address, and the name of any organization you may be representing for the record. Individuals may speak only one time and must limit comments to 5 minutes. If there is more than 6 individuals who wish to speak, the 30 minutes will be divided equally between the number of speakers. If you are planning to speak about personnel or a student matter involving an individual, please understand the district has a complaint policy and procedures to resolve such complaints concerns. Board members will generally not respond to any questions you ask or comments about individual staff, members, or students. This is a public meeting for conduct of business. Comments from the audience while others are speaking will not be tolerated. Lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, threatening, and hostile conduct or statements and fighting words will not be tolerated. The board will not act on any matter unless it is a published agenda item. So with that being said, I want to welcome everybody here. Do I have anybody who wants to address the board? Okay, we'll move on. Let's go to the eighth section, which is the action items. Let's go to 8A, which is an absence. Do I have a motion to approve the absence of Janet Mueller from the April 8, 2025 regular board meeting?
So moved.
Got a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Eric Turka.
Yes.
Tom Kelly.
Yes.
Kyle Stevenson, yes. Sean Landis.
Yes.
Janet Mueller.
Abstained. Motion carried. Let's go on to 8B. This is Carl Deeds Consulting Contract. Carl is no longer going to be with Financial and has become an independent consultant. So he has reached out to Ted and has offered his contract of $5,000 for the duration of May 2025 through April of 2026. And this would be for budget support, just like what he's been providing for us in the past. Do I have a motion to approve that contract?
So moved.
Got a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a first and second, any more discussion?
Who's even at the first last one? Feel anymore?
I don't know who's gonna take that over. That department's gotta be getting a lot smaller, but who knows? But, okay, hearing no more discussion, roll call.
Tom Kelly.
Yes.
Eric Turka.
Yes.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Janet Mueller.
Yes,
Sean Landis.
Yes.
Kyle Stevenson, yes.
motion carried. 8C is the wage room update. Who wants to take this? This is the fundraising, the flooring on the timing improvements, so forth and so on. Free?
I think we're wrapping up a really good run with the sponsorships for sure. Just through that campaign alone, we've raised over 21,000. The first shipment, our original purchase through Rogue, got here a few weeks ago. That's hanging tight in the shop right now. Kids maxed out this week, so they've been moving things out of the weight room. Flooring we just double checked with them on Monday. They haven't received the material yet, but they're still thinking that they'll hit our June 1st timeline. I do think it's gonna be pretty tight between when that's laid and when we wanna start weights. June 2nd, I think it is. So it'll take a village to come in and make sure we get all of that put together and put in, but we should be good to go. Alicia and I made the second order late last week or early this week. So that will be roughly 2 weeks when it gets in, and then at that point, I mean, we have a brand new weight room ultimately, which is super exciting. I'm just really grateful for our community and everybody that donated, and yeah. So I think the committee is still planning to do the brand fundraiser this summer. So they'll probably raise a good amount of funds during that too. At that point, I think we will look at purchasing an industrial treadmill and elliptical. Because those were wish list items that we would like, but didn't necessarily have to have. So that'll be exciting and ready for ribbon cutting when school starts.
Sounds awesome.
One comment, we moved a lot of the old equipment out, the frames that were welded together and so on. I think it was Adam said he'd like to wait until all the new equipment in to see if there's any parts of that. Is it okay then if I open that up to any staff members that want it? The stuff that we don't need, that he doesn't need to.
I believe it's gotta be moved to surplus.
That's what I was wondering.
Is that what we have to do?
Yeah, we would have, yes, we
Okay.
would have to move all those items into surplus, and then at that point, then it would be basically who would offer the highest for it, because it's district dollars. So.
Okay.
Could we do that garage sale style, Janet? Like when we're ready to, after it's declared surplus, we set it out on the side of and do a kind of garage
I
sale.
would
think you
style.
assume probably could, we just got
Because I can
to,
remember.
yeah.
Like surplus stuff, when Megan worked for ESU, they just,
Because that would tack it on.
Like a dollar.
the beer,
Yeah.
or the bitter was.
Yep.
Mhm.
And at this point too, a lot of it, I think anyone wanting to take it is gonna want it for the metal. more
Yes,
than anything.
exactly.
So
Mhm.
that will just probably keep everything in the shop for now until we're ready to make that transition. I'll let them know to hold it.
You know, and if there's a lot of metal there, it might not be a bad idea to try to get hold of a metal dealer and see a salvage metal dealer and see what they would bid for all of it as well, though.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, yeah. Okay.
With the flooring, we are responsible for getting the old flooring out. So
And that's where I'm like, do we start doing that? I mean, everything's ultimately, we were kind of at a holding point, waiting to see what you guys wanted to do with the old material, like the old equipment. Now that we have a plan for that, I think we'll just start tearing it up.
and then what do you do with the old mats? Try to surplus them and
I think
sell
you
them?
just get rid
I
of
was gonna say the mats, I have to wonder if they'd even,
I don't even know that you
Down
could,
here or something?
yeah.
yeah, I
And we
don't
have a
think we
roll
have
off
to, anything we
coming,
throw away, I don't think we have to put into surplus. I think we'll just destroy them.
You moving in for their cattle trailers and stuff.
I'd have to look at it.
I
see if there's-
don't remember what to.
Yeah, that'd be something we'd have to look at, see if there is something that can be used for them.
If you need
Oh.
help tearing up the floors.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Thank you. I'll coordinate with Adam and figure out our plan with kids and then go from there. Keep you posted.
So anything more on the weight room?
Questions, anything? Okay.
So that 21 was just from the sponsorship.
That was
and
just
then
from the sponsorship.
There was an additional funding through like the fish fries we've done already.
Yep, that's just holding that account right now. They are, because we're doing the brand, I don't wanna do another order yet. I wanna make sure
Right.
they have the funds in there to be able to
Buy all of their.
buy all of
supplies
their
for that.
stuff.
Yes.
At quick math, Alicia and I haven't sat down and balanced it out, but at quick math, I think there's around 10,000 just outside of this in there. And that's including, we also got a grant from the foundation, which was great. So I'll leave that until they're done with Bram, then we'll decide what we wanna do with the rest of it. I really don't want that account to necessarily carry a balance because a lot of it's community sponsored, so I think we want to use it for the weight room like people intended it to be used.
You talked about like a wrap for the wall.
Yeah, and that's something we can look at.
Mhm.
I mean, we'll have a healthy amount to, I think, finish it well.
Awesome. Thank you for
Thank
all your
you for all your
guys'
work.
work.
Yeah,
Bree,
thank you guys.
Brandy,
Kyle.
Kyle. So you guys all really came around and everybody else who helped with it. Thank you very much on that. Let's go ahead and move 8D is policy approval. We're gonna table that and then I will get hold of the policy review committee. And we might try to do something beyond just trying to meet in the morning. And just hammer out a
Workshop
whole
it.
bunch of, kind of a workshop thing and hammer out a whole bunch of them at one time and we'll go through everything. So we will get that set up at a later date. Resignations. So we have one resignation and that is Jessica Rasby's. I believe she's gone to Ogallala. Is that not correct? So do I have a motion to accept Jessica Rasby's letter of resignation?
So moved.
I got a first. Do I have a second?
So
Got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Janet Miller,
Yes.
Shad Knight,
yes.
Al Stevenson, yes. Tom Kelly,
Yes.
Eric Turka,
Yes.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. 8F is option students. We do not have any there, correct? Okay, let's go on to 8G, which is Langmeyer Heating and Cooling. And this is actually an invoice that is attached. And they came and serviced 40 units. So, and this invoice is in, I didn't write this down in my notes. In the amount of $5,000 even. Okay. And so you can look at that invoice, then I believe there was a conversation about maybe having bids on the servicing of our air conditioning units. The only question I have that I would want investigated is Langmeyer replaced most of those units up there. So if we go with another company to service them, will we lose our warranty? So that is my first question. If we would switch over to Snell or somebody else's, would we lose that warranty if we steered away from Langmeyer's doing the annual to semi-annual servicing? So Mr. Klassen, would you be able to kind of dig into that and find out for us and then
They replaced all of them, probably.
not quite all of them, but a bunch of them? Yeah. Yeah.
Everything since I
Yeah, they're the ones who has replaced. I can't tell you how many units they've actually replaced. They haven't replaced all the units, but since the lightning strike, they're the ones, and at that time, we did have bids among all of the different heating and air, and they were the cheapest at that time. So that is why we did go with Langmeyer's, but
5 years ago, 3, what, 5,
oh,
6 more.
we've been playing with this for a while.
yeah.
That lightning strike every year, yeah, it's,
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm
Wasn't
gonna
this
say-
on our agenda last month and you guys were gonna go up and look and make sure, cause this is for spring of,
and I did talk to Alicia. The last one was just the service contract.
Okay.
It was not an actual invoice. It was just saying it would be
Okay.
up to this amount.
oh, okay.
Is what
okay,
you guys looked at last.
Okay,
This is actually where they came and completed the work.
okay, but does
From
that
the-
service contract tie us
We
into
don't-
For just
using
this
this?
last year, it doesn't go forward
Yeah, and you won't have one with them.
Got it.
unless we come back.
Unless you.
And they, in their letter, if you read this, they're saying that service contract will increase due to increases that they're having, so. Their service contracts will no longer be this $5,000. It will be more when we ask for that new contract, if that's who we go with, so. I'll leave that to Ted to be able to work with them, find out about the warranties on all of those units they've replaced. And if the warranty remains. maybe reach out to Snell's, who else is out there? I mean, I can't. AJ's, there's somebody else out there that I know that's new in the area that quite a few people starting to use, but I don't remember the names. I can ask at the bank. Marcy, I don't know if I got you about it.
It's crazy.
But Tom, do you remember who else is out there? Cause I'm, okay.
Maybe.
Like Waldinger or something like that.
That's another person that I was thinking of. So those are different people that if we don't lose the warranty from Lane Myers, to maybe look into service contracts. Yes, yes, please. Yes.
It's typically the warranties on the equipment.
So if they're certified, yeah.
Yeah.
By the manufacturer.
Yeah.
As ruled
Yeah.
off the sell sheet.
So anyway, just want to confirm that. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the invoice for Lane Myers at $5,000 for the servicing of the 40 units that was done?
So moved.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Janet Mueller,
Yes.
Chad Langston,
Yes.
Kyle Stevenson, yes, Tom Kelly,
Yes.
Eric Turka,
Yes.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Motion carried. Let's go on to 8H, which is computer purchases. Mr. Golden, would you like to go over the information that you have attached?
Yes, I've got 5 documents there you should see, and first off, I'll start off by last month. I had a quote from Apple for lost, and of course, when you're a large purchase like that, I kind of felt like I should have some kind of a beating bid. But obviously, if you're buying from Apple, they're the only ones that make the Apple MacBooks, so that's why I got the quote for the Chromebooks, just for something to look at. I did not intend for it to become a MacBook versus Chromebook conversation, and like I talked to Mr. Klassen ahead of time. Well, I just need the devices, so I'm okay with either way. But I did update the quotes again, and I uploaded the latest versions. I uploaded some information on the most common damage to a device's screen getting broken. So I uploaded the cost of a new Chromebook screen for that particular model, which is $80. The cost of a MacBook screen is a little over $300, so it does cost more to repair. But working with Apple to try to get talk to them about the concerns, they were willing to give, and I have this on the bid as well, the quote. They're willing to give us the 3-year Apple Care Plus for schools with no service fee. So it's kind of like an insurance policy. It does cover accidental breakage. So if we paid that, and that would last for 3 years, we could talk about how we could, pass that on to students, so the amount.
Would that include the screen replacement in that Apple Care Plus?
Yes, okay, it does. But that only lasts for 3 years, so that would obviously be the first 3 years. If we put those into 9 through 12 grades, that would cover the first 3 years. But grades 5 through 8 wouldn't have that luxury of that. So I wouldn't want to punish younger students if they crack a screen while saying to the high school students, "Oh, you're good, we have insurance on that." So I would like to kind of spread out that damage cost a little bit more.
And you can't fix the Apple screens, right? But you
Well-
can the Chromes.
Chrome I could do, yeah,
Right.
I can fix the Apple, and I used to do it. I'm not Apple certified anymore because that's something you have to do every year. And when I was, IT at Ogallala, we just kind of moved away from the Macs. So if I did it myself, it would void the warranty and that type of stuff. So what I do is ESU will replace the MacBook screen for us, and they're not charging us the labor. It's just strictly the cost of the screen. So that works out pretty well. So we did get that. They lowered the price to $879 per device, which in my opinion is a pretty good price. 2 years ago at this time in May, the price of MacBooks was almost $1,100 for the cheapest MacBook. So, and I think they're trying to compete with the Chromebook. So the prices have come down a lot. So it's only, I don't, so I'm perfectly happy going with the MacBooks. I just, and my thought process is, if we have 9 through 12, which is 4 grades, if we kept them in the high school, kept them for 4 years and then rolled them down for 4 years. That would be 8 years. And I think we could assume that those MacBooks will perform for 8 years. Right now, we have some devices that were, they've been used for 10 years. They're 2015 models, and they're in pretty bad shape. But I would be happy with 8 years. The Chromebooks, they are supported. It's Google's operating system. They support each model for 10 years, but it's all how you take care of it. And they are, they're made, the shells are, a hard plastic, and they do have rubber. You buy the version that has the more ruggedized versions for students, but I think there's concern. Now, I talked to some teachers. Mrs. Worst in 4th grade, she's the only one that's had the Chromebooks this year. She was piloting those. And she, one of the attachments is her testimonial. She wasn't able to be here tonight. So as far as she knows, they worked fine for her. But she was also careful not to say, they're gonna work fine for everybody else. She doesn't know that. I talked to, I had conversations with 5th, 6th grade. They're also probably fine with the Chromebooks. They don't seem to really care. I talked to 7th and 8th grade, and they voiced quite a bit of concern. They're not sure. Change kind of is concerning for them. Yeah, the laptop you have there, that's 2017. So would be going into its 8th year next year if we kept it. But so I don't want to cause teacher stress. I'm perfectly fine continuing with MacBooks. I do think that if money was a concern that we wanted to talk about, the Chromebooks, in my opinion, would work as well. But I did also, our Apple rep came back and said, we'll give you 0% financing for 4 years. So that's what this other attachment is. And so that shows you how it would break down for 4 years. And he also said that, I said, what about some of our old devices? Like, for example, these 2017s you guys are using, they don't have much value. Maybe nothing at all, but maybe there's a little bit. Maybe they're worth $10 or $20. Who knows? But he said that once we gather up those devices, we give them that information, and they would be willing to offer us some kind of a trade-in amount that then they would apply towards our 2nd year payment. So like for devices that I don't know how much that would be. He would go into detail, but that might cut down that 2nd year payment a little bit as well. So I'm pretty happy with Apple. They were pretty cooperative. That was a pretty good deal. I would be perfectly fine with the Chromebooks as well. So I'm just kind of leaving that up to you.
So on the Apple bid, you got 85 units here,
Yeah, so what I'll
and then you
break
got
that down.
another 45 units down
And I'm
here.
sorry, I forgot to, in the emails I sent out, I explained what that was. So 85, that would be the students.
Okay.
And then that 3-year Apple Care Plus, that second line item, that's that, Apple Care, that's the accidental damage, that's the endo service fees. So, you can get that fixed. It, is 0 cost for us. That third line, which is the 45, that would be for staff. And I was talking to, Mr. Klassen about this before as well. And the staff laptops are up for renewal. The ones we have are 2020. So, they'll be going into their 5th year, which they will still work, but the staff is expecting that's, a new one item. That's probably what, has been good. They've been discussing and talking about for a while, but if that was something that you did not want to cover, then we can adjust that as well.
So then who gets the 24-inch? There's 4 of those.
That would, so the office staff, Keisha and Brittany, Alicia, I would want to give that, and then Mr. Webster, I thought I would get 4. The desktop computer that Mr. Klassen is using right now, that is also from 2017 or 18. It's an old one that I found downstairs that still worked. So I basically brought it up here and gave to Mr. Bristol when he was here. I said, "We've never used this, nobody's using it. It's just an old one that was in storage." So that one, so I thought if I replaced that and gave the office staff, it would be nice to know.
And the Mac Mini?
The Mac Mini is this computer that's actually runs our live stream and all that. The computer that's back there, that's 11 years old, and I have to reboot that before every live stream, and it's very slow, and it makes me nervous, so that would be to replace that. So,
Have we ever thought about using like iPads for the younger grades? And this is just, I mean, we know they're gonna be cheaper than the MacBooks. Or maybe
Well, we
6 and under, I mean, I don't, I'm just throwing things out there,
They do now, they use the iPads,
do they?
we
Yeah.
use
the
Okay.
K1,
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3
2,
do. Okay,
3, they used them for testing, they do use them, they use them for their AR reading tests.
Okay.
They use them.
The iPads that we have now, I think I'd be hard pressed to find one where the screen wasn't shattered.
Yeah, they are.
They're all the screens are broken, but it's not where there's jagged edges. They're not in any danger. They're in a shell, so it's plastic over the top. There's no danger to the student. And when they're on, you don't even see it. You have to turn them off and look at it at an angle, then you see all the cracks. But yeah, the iPads, that particular version of iPad, you know, will last us this year. And I think probably next summer, we'll have to look at replacing those devices either with more iPads or whatever. But I felt like, you know, we have the Chromebooks in the 4th grade, we'll just leave those there. That way we would have, if we went with the Apple MacBooks, you know, we would give 9 through 12, the new ones, roll those down. And then every 4 years, you could roll them around and you know, then 8 years, they would be phased rolled out.
Can I bring something up? There's 2 4th grades next year, so would you buy another set of Chromebooks for the other?
Well, there's
4th grade?
quite a few. How many is there again? There's 4th grade students are
There's going to be 32.
31 through 2. Yeah, so we would have to, I'd have to supplement with that with a few more Chromebooks.
I just thought you'd want all the 4th graders to have the
Same
Chromebook,
time,
right?
right, exactly.
Okay. But that is a thought also.
Or unless we just decided we want to get rid of it.
They work.
But and if you guys decided, hey, this money is, you know, we need to save this money and we want Chromebooks. Those Chromebooks would not go to the high school. The high school would stay MacBook. 9 through 12 would stay MacBook. And they would continue to use those devices. Those Chromebooks would go 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you'd have Chromebooks 4 through 8. That's how these would be deployed.
so we have teachers though that share those kiddos down in the 8th, 7th, so forth. That's also high school teachers, correct? So how easy is it to switch those kiddos from working on a Chrome, going into a teacher and all of her stuff is Mac? You're wanting to sync things up really fast. So I guess my question is it best where, yeah.
The compatibility.
I know you can, but sometimes it takes a while to get 2 brands to sit there and sync up.
Just from a programming standpoint, to split the high school would be very difficult, and I think it would be frustrating for teachers and it would be frustrating for kids. So anything, I guess my thing would be anything that we do junior high or high school, we do 7-12, because then you have kids, even with when we talk about like computer expectations, and when we talk about this is how you access this on your Mac, well, then you have kids with a Mac, kids with a Chromebook. I just feel like that's unnecessary hurdles. I just wouldn't want to split it.
Right, I understand. And like I said, I'm not pushing Chromebooks. I am here to assuage your fears. I personally feel pretty confident that Chromebooks work. But like I said, you know, the 7th and 8th grade teachers have voiced a lot of concern. You know, it's like, what do we expect? How do we do this? There's a lot of uncertainty, and I can understand they're not wanting to make changes. So that's why.
The Chromebook, right?
What's that?
They got a lot of concern to get.
Just change and
From the Mac.
and then, you know, right, and then, you know, will the Chromebook be able to do everything?
Oh, I see.
And you know, all of that. So and like I said, our Apple rep was really, you know, really worked with me a lot. And so I think he did a great job of getting us a real good price, and with the Apple Care Plus, you know, for accidental damage and stuff, I think.
I have a question here, and you know I'm ignorant on this stuff, but you've made many comments to me about our stuff, a lot of stuff is old. Do you think buying these new these new devices is going to help us or help Sutherland. Won't help us, but it will help Sutherland in the future, like with our, we had some testing issues once in a while and different things. Would these new units help that, or would that improve that? Or do we need other bigger equipment, other
It would,
internet
I
equipment?
think those issues are stem from other issues.
Oh, okay, I see.
It's not a device issue necessarily, although some of those fifth and sixth grade computers are, they're just a small little Macs, those are really, and those were having some issues, but, you know, and here, you know, and like I said, I hate to veer off, I don't wanna, go off point at all, but I know that, our wireless network is desperately needs upgraded. And I really feel like we have to do that this summer. I've to do it economically, and I've already got quotes from several vendors, you know, I can get that done for about 16,000. So, you know, I just want to throw that out there too, that, you know, maybe next month I'm gonna be having that conversation and see if that's doable. The sound system in the North Gym has been hanging on by a thread ever since I've been here. And during the elementary spring concert that we recently had, about an hour before the concert began, that system went out completely. So the speakers and the cables and the mics and the mixer under the stage, and all that stuff was my personal equipment there.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So it would be nice to upgrade the sound system. But you know, there's other projects.
You had mentioned REAP, that money, that's the REAP money, you were gonna use that for something.
Well, I was talking, I think we're getting there, and I'm not really familiar with the REAP money, that program as much. I was talking about some E-rate, which is a
Oh, the
different,
E-rate.
yeah, which is a
Okay.
different program.
Cause REAP has also got, they got some.
And right now, and I want to look into the REAP.
We'll talk,
because
yeah.
We'll see if
talk about
that's,
that some
and that the quote I got, the 16, that is an E-rate quote.
That's an E-rate,
Yeah.
okay,
So, but yeah, you know, like I said, there's some other projects that,
yeah.
you know, I'd like to look at as well. But if we can get the MacBooks and still do the wireless, I feel like our wireless network is in
Okay.
desperate shape.
I didn't mean to get you off track here, for the more.
Well, and I've got REAP money down here as well. I don't have the current REAP monies, but for 2023-24, we had $41,000 worth of REAP money, which can go to electronics, it can go to the infrastructure electronics, so like when you're talking the wireless, things of that sort, the REAP money can be used for that. So if we go the max at 33,000, we have around 40,000 that we're getting just in REAP money. And if there's another program that we can bring in to help with all of these things that needs done, that would be very beneficial. And so if that other one works better for the max, then maybe we can use some of that REAP money for the actual infrastructure that's needing replaced potentially.
And that's fine, right? So
Or however we can finagle that to get the most bang for our buck to cover all
He
of
has
this.
researched that.
my only concern was I didn't want to, if money was real tight, I didn't want to put all that in the MacBook and then, well, these are going to be neglected another year.
Mhm.
Be able to, if we can address all the, that's fine.
Just going back to the Chromebooks, how long, if we did do that break and did this younger ages? So I'm understanding like 4 through 6, maybe, how long what's the life cycle of a Chromebook, truthfully and honestly? When you're paying $300 for it, what is the true cycle, life cycle?
You're gonna get 4 years out of it easy, you know, that's pretty common. 5 years, yes, if it's well taken care of, you get it more, but it's well
Okay,
taken.
so we know that's not gonna happen.
But if it's in a backpack and hauled it home, lugged around and tossed into the car, you know, by the time it hits 5 years, you're gonna notice it'll still function, screen will work, everything will work, but you know, it'll start to feel this. You can still feel that it's starting to, it's not able to quite, you know, stand up to that type of abuse. Now, I've had some students use one for 4 years, they brought it back, and it was, you know, almost new. Like I said, software wise, they're supported for 10 years. But physically, you know, and they, like I said, the student ones, they are wrapped in rubber and, you know, they're
Mhm.
made to be more rugged, but I would say 5 years. Anything over that is more of a luxury. Anything over that's extra. Yeah.
So basically what I'm hearing is that a MacBook, we can probably get 8 years, a Chromebook, we get half the life, so
4 to 5.
it's.
So yeah.
So when you're looking at your dollar amounts, yes, You can save a little bit on the Chromes in 8 years, give or take a little bit. When it comes to Mac, when you look at what you've got there, that $879 is actually a $1,500 computer if we go down and you and I try to buy it. Let's be very honest, that's what type of computer that is, when you look at your gigabytes and everything else that's on it, so.
Yeah, with it, if you were to get the Apple Care Plus with a personal advice, it's gonna be $1,200. You pay for it, $1,200.
So, I guess, board, what is your thoughts, discussion? Go ahead.
Oh, so you have enough of the old MacBooks that you would just transition them down, like there's enough that are still functioning that
Yes,
those
absolutely.
are
Yeah,
just
the ones-
transitioned down to.
The ones in grades 9 through 12 are still,
Okay.
they're still
And
working.
then you
fine.
would try to do a buyback for the 5th and 6th grade
Any-
ones.
Those 5th and 6th grade ones those are in horrible shape. I really doubt if they would buy those back, but these ones from 2017 here.
Okay,
These might have a little bit of value. If we had, there's also some ones and twosies I'm finding, like I found one from 2018 and one from, I'm finding some other
Mhm.
ones that didn't fit into a more of a bulk purchase. So, we would go through and kind of identify those types of things. And then I would go back to Apple and say, hey, I've got 25 here that we don't need. They still have some value. And then they would give us some trade-in towards that second year
Okay.
price. Whatever, but he's not gonna commit to that without seeing the devices.
and you had said that he was throwing in the Apple Care, but it's
Well,
on
no,
there for 13,000.
didn't mean to say that,
Oh.
yeah, so in my experience, in Apple Care in the past, it was something where you would buy it and you'd buy either 2, 3, 4 years. And then it would cover an accidental breakage. And then once that happens, and it's the second breakage on, kind of on your own.
Mhm.
These are going to cover 2 accidental breakages per year.
Okay.
So that's a lot, in my opinion. I was really surprised that they were willing to do that with no service fees for that price. That's, in my opinion, I was pretty stunned that for 159,
Okay.
they were willing to do that.
So what would it take you to become certified again to be a Apple repair person?
I would have to just go to, the last time I did it years ago, I went up to Scotts Bluff. There's only certain places you can do it, but I would just have to go up there and spend an afternoon, go through there, take their testing, to be Apple certified. Like I said, I kind of like having the issue willing to do those repairs for us, but for free, but if you wanted me to, I can do that.
What's the turnaround time on ESU fixing them versus if you were to?
It's pretty quick. Like literally if I have a laptop like today, I said, hey, I have a laptop screen shattered, I need to get it replaced. They have to get it and they have to run it through a diagnostic that then they send that diagnostic information to Apple so that Apple can see what's wrong with it. And then they'll ship the part out and it's usually that's an overnight. And then once the part arrives, usually it's, 1 day, 24 hours, it's replaced. So if I were to send one to issue today, it's today, Tuesday, I might get it back Friday, maybe Monday. It's
That
pretty
turn
quick.
would be faster if you did it. Instead of having to take that time to send it to
Not
you.
really. Really, because, Nick Maxey lives here in Sutherland. And he just swings by when he drops his son off here at school. He just grabs the device and goes, so it's nothing out of my way, and they fix it and bring it right back. So it doesn't. I would still have to, run the diagnostics, send that to Apple, get the part shipped in. It would be the same. So, and like I said, the fact that they're doing it at no charge is.
So the Apple Care is for the 4 years that we're making payments on.
This
3 years.
this is
Just
3
3
years.
years.
They did have a 4-year version of it, and that was like 240.
Oh,
So I could adjust that if you wanted me to adjust that, I could. It'd tack on another, $80 per device. And then the staff laptops that were in here, I did not have the Apple Care on.
Yeah, she said it was not happening.
The CDW, the people that gave me quotes for Chromebooks, they all pretty much told me that, they can't hold on to these quotes like they used to. So they would want us to, they're only gonna honor this for a week, maybe 2 weeks tops. Because of the changing prices and the uncertainty there, so, Apple has said they're gonna honor this through June. So, we'd have through June to decide, but I'd rather get that ordered sooner than later. We have all summer to work.
And you said the life of these is typically around 8 years, and the staff, the age of their computers is closer to 5, but they need them as well.
Well, and that's why I said it's, well, most school districts refresh staff devices every 3 years, maybe
Okay.
5.
So would you take them down then and put them then in the pool with the students then if they're only 4 years old?
If I need it, right, if I had some extras that we didn't need, then I would see how much Apple. And Apple said that I gave him the model numbers of some of those staff, and I said, hey, if we have a few of these that we don't need. And he said, they might be willing to give us as much as $300 a piece for them. So, but none of that's guaranteed, so I can't really guarantee any of that happens, but yeah, you really, as an IT person, I'd really only want to use those devices for 4 or 5 years. But we know that rolling them down to 5, 6, 7, and 8, they'll still function, right? And those kids can still get use out of them. Now the staff members, they do use them a lot harder. So, I'd rather not. I've never gone 8 years for a staff laptop. That would be pretty tough. Yeah.
And to be honest, Tom, I don't think our laptops at work goes 8 years. Honestly, one of us are running on an 8-year laptop.
I haven't had a laptop for years. I'll let you know if I get there.
I'm on my second one there and I've been there since, yeah, so. So what is the board's desire? Is there any more information you want from Mr. Golden?
I think if we're gonna do it, that Apple Care is a pretty good idea.
Do we want to do it for 3 years or 4 years? Should we, since we're paying for them for 4 years, would we want to add another $80 on that?
Is there twice a year, is there what is the most common reason? It's the screen that
It's the
breaks.
screen
most of
that
the time,
breaks.
And we don't pay for that.
And
Correct,
with this Apple Care, we would for 3 months.
but even now, we don't pay for it.
No, we do.
We do,
Well, the student does.
the student does, yeah.
And it's
ESU just doesn't charge us.
They just don't charge.
Charge us manpower.
Yeah.
We haven't paid for the parts.
Yeah.
So it's right now it's 307 is what their cost is right now. That could change, but right now the cost of the new screen, just the screen itself, is 307.
How many have you had to replace this year?
Not as many as last year. The juniors have done really well. I don't think the juniors broke any, but I would have to go back and look. It hasn't been that many. I'll say 4, 5, 6 in that range. So it's not many. And they've done pretty good. Now let me roll that back. That's 9 through 12. 7th and 8th grade, probably another 4, 5, 6 at that group, at those 2 grades. Those kids are harder on the devices.
And that cost rolls into the family covers the cost of the screen.
Yeah, right. So if it's 307. Now, those 7th and 8th grade devices, because they're older devices, and I've got some spares down there. I was able to just grab a spare. I didn't take the time to fix those screens. I just gave a spare that I had so they could use. And so we weren't charging them nearly $300 for those 7. But obviously, doing this, they're going to get a newer device. We'd have to kind of figure out how much we charge those kids as well. This is the 9 through 12. We charge them exactly what screen costs, which is 307.
Do you think they'd adjust that to maybe 1 repair a year for 4 years
That's what I was
or
thinking.
something, or is it just pretty?
This is pretty standard. He said this is what you're gonna get. Because I thought the same thing. I thought, boy, it'd be nice if it was 4 years, just 2 breakages over the course of 4 years or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
That's each device.
each device,
One of
each
these
device, right?
devices.
So So that means that, right, so 9 through 12 would be covered, 5, 6, 7, 8 would not. But I would, like I said, I would still think we would still charge the high school students some too, to kind of spread that cost out. And not, not let them get them, so. The kids are actually, in my experience, they do better here. I know, like I said, one of my previous district, there was a lot of breakages. It was 50 or 60 a year for twice as many students.
I do think that kids respect that it's like. Seeing like sometimes what kids do with math or with Chromebooks, like it's almost like they kind of know this is an expensive device, I feel like, versus. A less, like maybe they're a little bit less apt to cause damage, knowing that the cost to them is gonna be more than, but. What are your guys' thoughts, principals?
In terms of which one,
Just all the way around.
having been in a district where I've done both, like I was Chromebook and overall here being Max. I do see how Chromebooks work for an elementary setting and in terms of like the touch screens for testing and things like that. But at a high school level, I mean, these work really well. They talk really well with all Apple products, which is nice. Teachers' computers talk with students' computers, which is also nice. Could we do it with Chromebooks? Yeah, if we had to, but if we don't have to, my preference would be to stay Max 712. I think in the conversations in the past, it's been well, if you do Chromebook elementary, MacBook high school, then they don't know how to use a MacBook. And I don't really see the merit in that because I could hand a kid any device on this table and they are resilient, they will figure it out. I think it's worth talking about a fee for computers. We're one of the only districts I know that doesn't charge a fee, like a contract fee. Obviously with free and reduced, if they qualify for free and reduced and cannot afford the fee, which is usually like $20 to $50, then we, as a district, we take care of that for them. So that wouldn't be unheard of or something that we couldn't do too. That's just my take.
I'm used to working in districts at elementary that have iPads. K1, 2, and then usually they have Chromebooks 3 through 6, not 4 through 6, 3 through 6. And for the littles, if you have touch screen, that almost works a little bit better. But they've been able to do all their testing and keyboarding on the Chromebook, and there hasn't been any issues. I don't know if the littles understand quite the expense of a MacBook. So, they might break it just because it doesn't really register, they don't know, but for everything that elementary students have done, I've always had good experience, I was assessment coordinator for 15 years and we did NSCAS testing and NWA testing and never had a glitch with any of that. So I've never had any problem with Chromebooks with the littles, but I do agree with the high school being consistent at 712. The only thing that I was thinking about, which I'm not sure, is because usually if I'm in a school that uses Chromebooks, they use Windows. So I'm not quite sure how that compatibility would be with Macs. But usually the teachers are using their overhead and their Macs compatible with that. So the kids could still follow along. That would be the only thing that would be different.
And we were Chromebook Mac, like teachers all had Mac.
Oh, and that worked okay.
And it worked okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's the only thing.
So how many if we did split it, how many Chromebooks would you need to cover 4 through 6?
Well, I did a quote for 85, just so it'd be kind of apples against apples. But
correct.
if I did it on our current students that are coming in through, those grades, I would actually need 86 books. I would be one short. So I would have to adjust that or buy an additional one. But I wanted to
For
just have
3
it,
through 6?
if I did 4 through 8, or well, 5, 6, 7, 8. If
No,
we did
we wouldn't want 7,
We
8.
want 3, 3, 6.
below, so
No,
we're
just
talking
below.
6 and
Oh.
below.
Well, I mean, the big class was like you said, the
30.
fourth grade. But I figured there's roughly 20 in the grade, so we'd have to get 40 or 50.
Because right now I know we don't have enough iPads for all of K3, just because when we tested, we had to go rob a
Well,
first
we don't-
grade.
K doesn't have,
Okay, so
any
when we're doing
iPads.
kindergarten.
so we were there
Okay.
probably, yeah.
That's what they borrowed from first.
We've got, iPads 1, 2, and 3, and every student has a.
So kiddos, kindergartners.
Last summer, I moved those iPads to the next room so that those students wouldn't have the same device.
Okay, so kindergarten doesn't have
Kindergarten
iPads.
does not have any iPads. I think the teacher, I think I gave Miss Hampton a couple of iPads so she could have, but they don't have iPads in that area
Okay,
for a one-on-one situation.
correct.
So I could, if you wanted me to say, if you wanted me to look at that and say, hey, can we look at buying this? So you're thinking about maybe buying the set for 9 through 12 and rolling those down, and then getting Chromebooks maybe at a couple of at the grade levels. Is that what you're getting?
I'm just throwing out ideas on what the price differences is and so forth
Well,
and so on. I mean, when I actually look at this and we're doing, say, 8 years, so we have to buy 2 of those and 1 Mac, 2 Chromes. At the prices today, that's $242 an item savings. So,
When you roll devices down and do that, it can be really clunky if you don't. I like the idea of 9 through 12 and 5 through 8. It's 4 grades. You roll down to 4 grades. If you try to break it down and say, well, we're just going to go down to 7, then suddenly, okay, I've got extra devices. And I think maybe that's what they've done in the past, which is why we've got extra devices. But and then when you try to use those, then pretty soon you're out of sync, and then we need some more, but these are fine, but these aren't. And then
What's your philosophy? I'm just curious for 5 through 8.
philosophy for what I.
For, yeah, having Chromebooks 5.8 instead of like 3.6 versus 7.12. I'm trying to understand.
It would be. Right now, 5 through 8 has devices that are in order, they're old, they need replaced. So that's what started this whole conversation is 5, 6, 7, and 8 needs to be replaced.
Okay.
Now, how do we do that is the question. Do we, buy Chromebooks for those grades, or do we buy new MacBooks and then roll down to cover those? Like I said, if we did that method, I like the idea of just leaving 4th grade in Chromebooks. And that way you've got 4 grades down to 4 grades. This can be different because the, student populations are different.
Is it possible, like, if we wanted to start the transition from Chromebooks to purchase, I mean, the kids that are in 4th grade, is there any reason they wouldn't just take those Chromebooks up to 5th grade with them? And then purchase?
That was last summer when I originally talked to everybody about buying Chromebooks for that pilot program. I said, I said, if the Chromebooks work, that was my thought, was that they would carry them up to 5th, we'd buy a new set for 4th, then those kids would carry them up a grade and I'd buy a new one for 4th. And then down the road, if we decided we wanted to be K-12 Chromebook or how would we get it,
Yeah,
then I said, we would buy a new Chromebook at 4th grade, we'd buy a new Chromebook at 9th grade. And then maybe the one at 9th grade would be a little bit better. They have Chromebook Plus models now. They're a little bit, they have better audio, a little better graphics. They have a little bit more horsepower. They cost, slightly more, but it's still half as much as a MacBook. So I thought, well, we could get a Chromebooks, 4 through 8. And
I was just wondering though, if you moved those up with the 5th grade. Say we purchased new computers for just high school.
okay.
And then you still could move some down to 5th and 6th, and then we just kind of transition them out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if we took the staff books or whatever, the least old ones, gave those to the 6th, it sounds like 6th grade really needs. 5th grade's gonna have the Chromebooks, 6th grade can take some MacBooks. And then you just start that transition. As those get old, you buy new Chromebooks for the incoming 6th. I mean, I don't know. I wonder if it could be like a transition into Chromebooks for elementary and then MacBooks, and then those, just when the seniors go, those senior books go to the 7th grade as they're coming up. And then that's kind of the way And then,
And see, that's kind of where I'm thinking is, let the Chromebooks be in that elementary, and I like the way you're saying to transition it in seventh and above. or
yeah,
it's
and I see what,
MacBooks.
understand what you're saying, 'cause you're
It's-
talking 4 years and then that kind of works natural with,
So here's the
so
other,
I understand both sides, but I just,
and this conversation is carrying, we've been on this now for 25 minutes, but I do want to also ask, Tom said this happened when he was in high school. Have we ever thought about allowing the seniors to buy their laptop? And then at that point, you were talking about, okay, we have this issue of we get 4 years out of it. We're not doing 4 and 4 when we do the roll down. Would that help out in any way, shape or form? And not all of them are gonna take them. But
Would love to be able to offer that.
We could, I know, like I said, in my previous district, we just
Take it.
gave the seniors the device. So.
Because it's-
well, Matt, I don't know if we
We
can
wouldn't
afford
wanna
to
do
just give
that,
it to
right,
them, but I mean,
but we could-
depending on the age of it,
We could, you know, if it was just 4-year-old device, it definitely has.
some value to it.
Used Macs are still very expensive too.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm sure we could say, hey, you know, $300 or $350 or whatever. Be an absolutely fair price. So that, but like I said, my idea was like, if you just did 7 and 8, then if we had 4 grades worth. Then we try to roll them down, it's like, okay, well, we only need some of these, we've got a lot more now, that we have a lot of extras. Although maybe I could see if Apple would be willing to give us trade-in on them. But I was just trying to keep it a simple process where it just. But yeah, I mean, we could do that too, if you wanted to start that process and roll Chromebooks in, or even just buy enough Chromebooks to outfit 5 and 6 right now. And then just get, you know, MacBooks enough to cover 2 grade levels. We can do that too.
cause what I'm hearing is elementary. Kind of feels like they would like the Chromebooks, or that would be a little bit better, is that kind of what
Well,
you're
I
saying?
just think handing them a device that's $1,200, I mean,
Mhm.
they're little, I mean, even to
Mhm.
6th graders really don't know what
Mhm.
$1,200 is. Yeah, you know, they
Yeah,
do
but
just fine with Chromebooks.
Or like having a kid in elementary. I mean, they can be clumsy at times, and
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
break a iPad or
Mhm.
Mac computer screen.
Yeah.
Cause they dropped it, now I'm out $300 because the device is expensive, they don't understand that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So-
It would
And
never
being a single
buy
parent
my
at home, that's
No.
a lot.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm kind of at.
No way.
I kind of like the idea of splitting.
And what, you know.
Somehow rotate it with the 7 to 12.
If we did that long term, what I'd like to do is, you know, if we did that, I would also like to go 1, 2, and 3, do a touchscreen Chromebook. Because then those kids can still touch, they have that tactile
Yep.
interface, but yet they start to get acclimated to the trackpad and the keyboard, because right now, they come in at 4th grade. All they've ever had is smartphones and iPads, and now in 4th grade, they don't know how to operate any of this, and it's, you know, kids, it's a struggle.
So if we went that direction, how many computers of each brand would you need?
So I
That's
would
kind of putting them on the
I
spot.
would want to get probably
Well, we're,
Yeah.
It'd be 5th, 6th Chromebooks, all staff MacBooks.
Well, it'd be
and
It'd
2.
be 4th
Fourth,
to
sixth.
6th Chromebooks.
That's how many we need.
we do have like 20 Chromebooks now in the 4th grade, so we would need some more.
Yeah.
That incoming 4th
So
grade
just-
class is big, it's a big class.
So you need 12.
So we would need to buy probably 50 Chromebooks and then we would buy enough MacBooks. 40, 45. I'd have to look at the size of those off the top of my head. I can't think of what those 6th and 7th grades sizes are.
Oh,
right now.
6th grade's about 19. 7th grade is how many?
Usually figure about 20.
And then you'd need the 45 for the staff also.
But you took senior computers, so could we roll seniors devices down to
So I'm
some?
saying I would buy enough devices to give maybe juniors and seniors. And then roll it.
There's 20 7th graders, that would be 8th graders.
So you're talking about 40, it's all, you know, it's nice to have a couple extra. Case students enroll, obviously, so 40 to 42, 3, somewhere in there.
so the question I have is that, and kind of getting the feeling, Brandy, I kind of understand where you're feeling. What are you guys feeling? Are we talking Chromebooks for the younger grades and max 7 through 12?
Yeah. So
Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, have a motion from Brandy that we will do Chromebook 6 and under and MacBook 7 through 12. Do I have a second?
I was second motion.
Okay, I had a first and second, any more discussion?
What about Apple Care? Are we skipping it?
I'm thinking,
Are we just giving discretion to order, like, you guys work
Yes,
together, you're gonna
yes, the
order
number is
what you
they
need,
decide
you
that
get
they
to
need.
decide that, and then.
Yes. We're just saying how that.
And it's based on the bids you gave us, it's just a change of number, is what we're.
Correct. I'm assuming,
Correct.
I'm assuming we can adjust
Yes,
this.
the quantity would change, but the bid is still exactly the same, so we're approving, okay,
Price per unit.
yeah.
So back to,
Back to the Apple Care,
I mean, I like the idea of it, but you know, obviously if you're buying, 40 computers, that adds up. So,
I would still almost think we would want it, to be honest.
at that price, I mean, that's half the price of the
Right,
one
of a
broken
screen,
One
so,
broken screen.
yeah. And then we can let the admin work on maybe setting a cross the section, like you said, a computer rental of $20 or whatever for everybody.
But
And then that money can go into the pool to help cover repairs and so forth, and then it's spread across everybody.
Like
So,
25.
but 12 broken screens is a fraction of that total cost for Apple Care. Is all I'm
Mhm.
thinking.
Right.
per
In my
year
mind.
though, we gotta look at per year, that is for 3 years.
Okay,
Or
Yes.
is that a-
Yeah,
That's a three.
The Apple
years.
Care
Still
is-
half.
It's 3 years. So. It's up to you guys. I just threw that in there because I'm going to talk about, cost for the student. This would help.
but it would
And that's
cover
two-
any
That's
damage.
two
Two accidental breakages per year.
right.
per year.
So up to 6, if you spread it out, which is, like I said, I was surprised that there was.
it's kind of like car insurance.
Yeah,
You don't really, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, you really don't want to pay for it, but yet you really like it when you have it.
I would, if you think about it, you'd never buy a Mac and not get that care on it. Or your own.
I've got a motion, I've got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, roll call,
Jan Miller,
yes.
Chad Langston.
Yes.
Alex Stevenson, yes. Tom Kelly.
Yes.
Eric Strickland.
Yes.
Randy Bush.
yes,
Derek. Okay, motion carried.
Did that include the teacher computers?
Yes, oh, yes. We're just, all we basically was voting on was how that rotation and those who's gonna start being broke out per brand. So, yes.
Thank you.
Let's go on to reports, elementary report. Ms. Pritchard.
Elementary, April student of the month preschool, we had Maverick Coleman and Barrett Myers, kindergarten Grace Westerman and Hazen's trustee Sokol. First grade Kendall Hathaway, second grade Carter Crump, third grade Hazel Kaufman and Calliope Mills, fourth grade Xander Bornson, fifth grade Jasa Kirschner, sixth grade Gage Busher. Did you get his certificate?
I did.
I put a deer on it. Proud of
He
myself.
liked it.
The Adams Bank and Trust Sutherland Bank branch had their last visit on May 7th. And Adams Bank and Trust Sutherland branch, third and fourth quarter, they draw randomly and they give the recipient an extra $25 to add to their account. And the third quarter winner was Vaughn Barrett and the fourth quarter winner was Jake McConnell.
Think he won the lottery. I'm stoked.
And the sixth graders will receive a check for their account balance. And what she'll do is she'll send me the check so then I can address the envelopes because I'm not gonna give out addresses. And then I'll send those to our kiddos. They can decide to open up a different account or to take their check in sixth grade. So that's been a good program. The students did we did our accelerated reader. We talked about that earlier. We had 22 kids go to the rec center today. We had about 23 kids that stayed at school. And then we had 92 that went up to the park. So if you had 3 out of 4 quarters, you went to Anchor Park. If you had 4 out of 4 quarters plus 100 points, they went to the rec center. So altogether, we had 114 students celebrating. And then the sixth graders, they participated in Bump Up Day today, the seventh grade, the morning, May 13th for a couple hours. Thank you to Miss McConnell and Mrs. Bruntz for giving the kids this experience. They enjoyed it. Yeah, and the second graders will share their drug-free presentation with the elementary students on May 14th. The elementary students will participate in field day on Friday. Thank you to the volunteers who make this event successful. The fourth quarter awards ceremony will be held on Monday, May 19th. Kindergarten first and second grade begins at 12:15. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade will begin at 2:30 in the South Gym, and parents and guests are welcome. And then the elementary students will participate in their annual walk around town at 11 o'clock on the last day of school.
Oh, all right. For community, last week we celebrated Staff Appreciation Week and we did a 90s theme and it was so fun to remind a majority of our staff that I'm young and they are old. Especially when I'm pulling out baby pictures and they're pulling out wedding pictures. So that was really fun for me. Might have been, just for my own entertainment. Snow White, I just want to shout them out. They delivered snowstorms on Wednesday for us. Teachers really appreciated it. It's so nice to have things like that in the community, in a small community that we can tap into. So that was fun last week. Honors Night was last week. We celebrated a lot of kids, some impactful adults. It was a full house, long night, but a great night. Graduation this past weekend, so that was a first for me. Mrs. Bruns orchestrates that beautifully, and I would have never guessed the amount of work that goes into facilitating a commencement ceremony. So if you see her, thank her. She represents our school so well, in a bigger, arena like that. Thank you to Brandy and Tom for passing out diplomas. We appreciated you being there as well. Like Mrs. Pritchard said, we had 7th grade orientation this morning, so I went and visited the 6th graders with Mrs. Bruns. She gave them a tour, and then I went through just some system switches that they can anticipate. We had National Honor Society students come down for a Q&A, and that's just fun to just be a fly on the wall for. I've scheduled, parents will get a letter from me today, of incoming 7th grade parents we'll do just a 7th grade orientation for parents, August 12th. The week before back to school night. So that way they can kind of hear the same thing. For the rest of my board report, it's really just wrapping up data towards goals that we set in August. So we've had a really great year on the high school side. I'm super proud of the work we've done. I'm proud of kids and I'm proud of teachers. One of the hills that we decided to die on this year was cell phones. Away for the day, getting rid of them entirely during instructional hours. On the year, we had 36 recorded cell phone violations. 82% of those were in the first semester. Probably 80% of the 82 were in the first quarter, just because kids were learning that we weren't going to play. I got a cell phone today. So we're still, teachers are still being cognizant and we're still on the lookout for it, but kids have rose to the expectation. They don't balk at you. As soon as you see their phone, they're going to hand it to you. They know my expectation. They know they're going to call a parent. So that's been really great. In terms of student feedback on cell phones, they're not argumentative. A lot of my seniors, they were very hesitant at the beginning. I heard a lot of this place is a prison. But exiting, it's part of the job. Exiting the year though, you talk to them and they're like, it was nice. It was nice to not have that distraction or the pressure that comes in this little box. So overall a win. Another hill that we died on was sixth period tardies. Coming in this year, teachers were really struggling with getting kids back from open campus and them not being tardy. We only had 45 6th period tardies on the year. I pulled last year's and it was well over 150. So we put some things into place where there was consequences, and if kids chose to be late from open campus, they lost their open campus, and that worked too. Failing classes on the year in comparison to last year are down 63%. So we really tapped into extended learning, which was something that Dustin created when he was here, that I think is an awesome safety net for kids to make sure that they have to try to fail at this point. Like, we have put all the things in place to where there's a certified teacher here to help them 30 minutes before school, 30 minutes after school. And that's, I think, helped a lot too. So end of year data, our goal was a 6% increase in student achievement. So we wanted 6% more students at or above grade level in the spring than we had in the fall. For math, we had 11.3% increase. So we absolutely crushed that goal. And for reading, we had a 14.3% increase on students at or above grade level. So in math, we have 77% of our kids are at or above grade level in math, and then 70% of our students are at or above grade level in reading. Benchmark average, you pull a random school, it's going to look like 50%. So that's a very successful year. In terms of ACT, that is still embargoed, so I have to be a little bit careful about what I share until the state tells us that we can. But some overarching just stats for you. Our kids did a really, really good job. Last year, there was only 2 students out of 24 that scored above a 20. This year, we had 10 students out of 16 score above a 20. 8 of those students scored above a 22, which was really great. So as it sits right now, about 56% of our kids scored above the state benchmark average. Which is very, very hard to do. And our average composite score is above the state average for the first time in 3 years. So it was a very successful year on the high school side. I'm really proud of, like I said, our kids, but our teachers, because if they wouldn't have been so willing to just kind of lean in and follow some crazy ideas and contribute to system shifts, we wouldn't be looking at this. So super excited about all of that competition. We have district track tomorrow, our last home track meet of the year. So hopefully the weather participates and we have some kids punch their ticket. And we had a home golf meet today. I haven't been able to look at, see how the kids did, but state golf is obviously the last state competition of the year. So districts for them isn't for another week and a half. Busy.
Do you have any questions for Mrs. McConnell? Okay, superintendent reports. Awesome.
Those barn doors have been installed. They really look good and they're much more solid. This will be Miss Pritchard's last meeting as she has exceeded her 220 days with several days. But will complete all her duties by Friday, May 23rd. And she said she's volunteered. She said she'll come back a day or two during the Memorial Week in case Mr. Gunderson might need to visit with her. So thank you, Miss Pritchard, for a job well done this year. We really
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
what you did.
Very much so.
You've done amazing.
Mr. Webster and I will start transitioning him into this position starting in June. He and his family will be moved into their house by the end of this month. I understand he and his wife were here this past weekend and planted a garden and are possibly coming next weekend also. I think it's an awful good beginning for a new superintendent. And his neighbor right over there, the one that reported that, so he'll keep reporting. Often.
Community. And is he watering the garden now?
Mhm.
No.
They were,
We got a handle.
it was being watered this morning when I walked by.
He told me he's kind of security.
Okay.
Rabbits and gardens don't mix sometimes, so the rabbits are asked to leave and they do sometimes, so it's nice.
Community watch.
Yes, okay. I hope you'll consider purchasing a reliable bus next year. If Inland Truck Center in North Platte gets the AC permanently fixed, the anchor bus would be okay, but the sailor bus needs to go down the road. I want to commend RC for making all of the southern property look so exceptional for all the track meets and for the graduation. He had this place looking really nice, all over the place. He is an asset to this organization and he really takes pride in the facility. Now, you've got some very good news about the various test scoring that the high school students achieve, and all of our students. I think that the school is definitely heading in the right direction, so nice work, teachers and principals.
Anybody have any comments for Mr. Cost? Okay, let's move on to the board reports. The board members have anything to bring forth at this time. Okay, If not, we'll move on to the next meeting date, which will be June 10th at 6 o'clock. Do I have a motion to approve that date?
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second? A second, any more discussion? Roll call,
Hannah Miller,
yes.
Sean Lee,
Yes.
Al Hughes, yes, Tom Kelly,
Yes.
Eric Turka,
Yes.
Randy Busher.
Yes.
Motion carried, and we are adjourned at 7:16.